roundtable is on circularity and will be moderated by Marte from Sqetch. So, Marte.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to having the honor to moderate this full female panel. And I can't believe the project is almost over, and this is the first time I'm seeing some of you. And I'm very surprised that you have bodies. I didn't know that. So that's a pleasure. Actually, Jessie gave us a very tough exercise for these rounds of panels. We only have 30 minutes each. We are a bit delayed, so let's make sure we are introducing this panel and finishing this panel in time, so that there's no domino delays. And Jessie had the fabulous idea that we all pose the same 3 questions on the panel. So for the panelists, Project Manager Circularity at Circular.fashion, welcome. We have next to Freya Nona Dokuzova, co-founder at Vretena, welcome. And I learned Bishop-Kainu. Thank you for helping me with the Finnish pronunciation. Product development at Indigo, welcome. And last but not least, Kirsi Niinimäki, associate professor at Aalto University and here with New Cotton. Welcome, it's a pleasure. So we do this one after the other. So I have the same question for you, and we finished the round. We need to make snappy and short answers. Let's try. So the first question, and you have the pleasure to start, is who are you? And what is your take on circularity? Because that's the topic of our panel.
Super, thank you, Martin. Hi, my name is Freya and I work at Circular.fashion, which is just down the hall as well, in this building. And we're a Berlin-based consultancy, and we work with fashion brands to help with the ability of a product. And then we are also looking at how to put that product together so it lasts the longest. So everything to do with the physical durability, to the features that these products have, so that consumers want to keep them for longest. And then how can we keep these products in the system for as long as possible? So this is through business models, but then ultimately also recycling, so closing the loop.
Fabulous. What was your role in Herewear?
So in Herewear we were designing the design inspiration tool. So this was a software to enable designers to get inspiration about their concepts and to really go through this whole process of material design, circulation.
Use case, but yes, I'm Nona. I'm one of the co-founders of Vretena, a small family-owned for prototypes that we had. And we had 2 scenarios, like the flexi dress from Hentschel, and then the day shirt, which you can see there also, from PLA. My take on circularity, for us, for me and my sister, is really like a very holistic topic. For us, there is no easy response, and what we also learned through the Herewear project, there are really many different aspects. It's starting with the design, then we talk about materials, manufacturing, then the awareness of the customers and the users, then infrastructure of recycling, or also repairing and collecting and sorting. So there are so many aspects, and it's for us like a continuous learning. And I could only say to everyone who really tries as a brand to do that it's there is no one answer.
Over to you, Amber.
Hi, I'm Bishop-Kainu. I am an American that moved to Finland in 2007-ish, I think. So I've been living here, oh my god, somebody do math, but in Finnish. And so, with a lot of Google Translate. And then somebody down the road was like, this guy plants these weird little blue, well, they're not blue plants, but they create a blue dye. And he drove up in my driveway one day, and I was like, this is not a thing for the textiles world. Nobody's ever said goodbye, natural dye. And then he drove up into my driveway when I needed to do like a job shadow, basically, and so I have been working with him ever since. And I had to really rethink the way that I view color in order to think about the job and to really see how it fit into where I see that fashion or textiles could go in the future. And I think of circularity kind of in a historical perspective. Like 200 years ago, people didn't just throw away their clothing. The clothing cost a lot more, and they viewed it as, and now we have...
Working in the textile industry 11 years before then moving to education and then later to research. That's my story. And as an academic, of course, we try to open the new understanding what is sustainability in textile and fashion field. We also try to publish open access online as much as possible. So there's a lot of material that you can read, also educational material. A lot of books actually has been also published from this field. My take to circularity is that, well, if you think about what have happened there, if like historical view for sustainability, of course our understanding has been developed. I think that currently we are really strongly believing in circularity, but I see that that's probably like the step that we are now taking. It's not the final step. So I'm quite sure that we are moving onwards and begin to think about it more about this kind of sufficiency aspect as global limits and that kind of stuff, taking them a bit more seriously. But that, of course, the circularity is something that industry is moving into, and I really try to help and support the transition in this step.
Let's stick to that for a second. Let's do the reverse order. We can spend a bit more time together. So if this is like the current state.
Now I'm outside about the Herewear, but I think that it was super interesting to see this kind of local aspect, that we should have much more different kind of fibers, for example, on textiles or garments. And we should really have, of course we still need this kind of mass manufacturing. If we think about basic industry, I think that it's going to be too costly to decrease or make that smaller, but I think that there should be much more alternatives, and there were super interesting examples over there. I hope that everyone will try to also open their mind that we are so stuck on this current industrial mass manufacturing way and the cheap prices, so that understanding should change.
Thanks a lot. Good input for the next panel to come, but let's move on with you, Amber. From your point of view, so your take on learning from history, circularity is not a new concept. Actually, it's a very old, it's probably the oldest concept. Did you learn anything? What are your key takeaways from, looking at the results and also collaborating in Herewear and talking and listening to the partners?
I think one of the biggest things is there's such a potential for growth. Like, there's such a potential. There are always issues, but like it's possible to look at it from a creative solving perspective. And I think a lot of times when people think of circularity, they get a bit disappointed and you're not really sure how that can impact their daily lives. But I think creating communities like this that is positive about changing the way that the textiles industry works, but also like small scale, like watching your brands has been absolutely fascinating for me, because like y'all made a straw dress, like that's cool. I mean, I think it's connecting people has been one of the biggest things.
Thanks a lot. You also learned a lot.
I miss everyone's best now because we were part of the one project. Yeah. I would start systematically. So basically with the design style, the feedstock, then what kind of construction, what is the impact if we do this or that, and also the manufacturing perspective and the life cycle extension. So all these aspects we had already experienced because since starting our own company, we are like sustainable fashion brand, but here we really went into the discussion that we could not have otherwise. I mean, also because of the design guidelines and garment scenarios that were part of the research also. Other aspects is that we learned really a lot about the textile itself. I mean, we as a brand, we don't have always this knowledge of the textiles, of the fibers, what does it mean, and we understand that there is impact at each step when you produce a fabric, but it's different when you see it with your own eyes and then discussing with all partners and researchers on different steps, from starting with the pit stop until the final fabric and all the steps in between. So it was a big learning for us, and also showed the potential to learn more. And how important this is also for the final understanding of the design, and also the different approaches that you can go to the material first approach, but you can go also to a product, then it's the material guiding you. And last but not least, it's the network manufacturing and also the microfactory. There is really a great area there for that still we need to learn about, and the digital elements around that. For the circularity, we already knew this from our first collection, so this was for us a great further exploration. But I think for MITWILL was really a great new experience for the first time.
Thanks for sharing. Very systematic.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Freya.
Same question?
Yes.
Yes.
Same question.
I think that what we've learned a lot is just the value of the knowledge of the partners, because we have come from a focus which is circularity, of course, but there's two other pillars in here, bio-based and local, and there is really such a wealth of knowledge amongst the partners that we were able to draw upon, and I almost see it a little bit as like a microcosm of the industry, because even though we have been pushed together as partners, we also still needed to find ways to work together and to develop the language that we spoke to each other, because there was sometimes a difference between if you're working in industry or academia or research, to actually dig deep into the questions that you want answers for and identify who are the partners who actually have the information that you need. So of course, looking outwards, there needs to be more opportunities for people to come together and to feel that they can actually share knowledge with each other in a way that there is a mutual benefit in the future.
Thanks a lot. Very, very optimistic, positive takeaway. Last round. Let's stay with you, which has been touched upon quite a bit here by you guys. So we understand where we are right now. We understand what we learned. What has to happen in the future. So we are not. Let's acknowledge we are not where we have to be. What would be the key next steps? I know it's a tough one.
I mean, I look at the work that has been produced here, and I think that there needs to be, obviously more infrastructure, more opportunities to scale up all the way along. Because even if you develop a wonderful material, bio-based, with the technologies that we have here today, when we look at it from a circularity perspective, it has to retain, I'm going to say, that purity all the way through. Because you don't want to put all of that effort into something and then for it to be made locally as well, the sort of who is in these areas, who is in Berlin or Germany, or the countries that you're from can also help with this.
Sounds like a great next application of 379 pages. I don't know if you have any plans next week's. I hope you took notes of Freya's comment.
No pressure.
Almost finished. So, practicalities aside, what has to happen? What will be a great and reasonable next step to elevate what we all learned here and achieved here in Herewear?
Specifically now talking about how Vretena was thinking to continue, so we have like two aspects. One is that we want to have like a new piece of collection. We still need to think with bio-based material, because today morning we were talking about that. We know that with upscaling it will take a bit time with the new materials. So also we decided to implement all the knowledge in a new garment that we can already bring on the market with bio-based material. So this is the immediate step, and we work together with our partners in Herewear to achieve that. And then from other perspective is more the local community that we would like now somehow to continue building up in the location where we are in Spain, considering that this will help not only the awareness and the connection in the community with people like-minded or new people who want to know about that, but also putting infrastructure for repairing and collecting the garments, because for us the challenge is how to get the garments back. We have our partners once we get them, but then how to get the garments back to us is something that is related a bit to the awareness that our customers or users need to know to bring them back, but also that they do it and then something. So this is just the near future. The far future we will see, but it's about with the infrastructure and the solution that will come in the future from technology perspective.
Maybe that collection part could also have a little paragraph in that application. Over to you, Amber.
Okay, so
Okay, perhaps I return back how we started today. So there was this policy talks, and I think that actually that's really, really important what is happening. I really strongly believe this enabling policy. So if all these regulations which are now under construction will be implemented, we heard some timelines this morning about 3 years or 4 years time, there will be a big change. So there will be a lot of things that will be pushed onwards, as well as then a lot of things that will be prevented. So I think that that's actually, I'm quite hopeful with which is now seems to happen, and seems to be that EU is really like pushing, and they really believe this change. So let's hope for the best, and I think that will make a change.
Sounds like a kind of momentum that we have here, a chance at least. Thank you so much. Thanks for the great statements, thanks for the great input, thanks for the fantastic collaboration, and for being here with us. And now I hand back. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Marte, for moderating, and then I will introduce Jessie, who will do a round table around the local aspects. Yeah. Here.
Okay, this is the second round table, and our topic is local, so it's not exactly the same question. Though I'll ask the same questions. To Saman, Khodabandeh, and
Saman.
Huh? Saman is okay. But I only tried your last one today. But then of MITWILL, who part of the Herewear project, Annalise Moro of MiFi. You've just met Marte of Sqetch, who is actually our host in many aspects. Annalise Gra of Haute Couture, but also has been collaborating a lot with us through Avontex, the fair which is within in Herewear, because it means a lot of different things to different people. In the Herewear community, when people signed up, over a third of people said they were interested in becoming part of a local production chain. But then we discovered that but we don't really know what that means. So what do you think it means?
I think local is, well, at some point related to predetermined situations, depends on geography. So I think the first aspect, in my opinion, about locality is it's given. It's not flexible. For example, we could not start growing mangoes here. I guess maybe a few months. You don't know, but I don't think we will see it. So first point is the part that is like inherited, let's say, or predefined, and then you could add it up with other aspects of possibilities to move materials for doing something. I mean, thoughts can be moved anyway, but when you talk about physical goods for producing something, I think there are possibilities that make sense to produce locally in a well-connected infrastructure. So, yeah, there's those two aspects that are regional, in my opinion, and I think we shouldn't try to change everything from where you are. You should start, or you could start to change in a radius of a few kilometers or 100 kilometers, and it's fair enough to do that. And if everyone would do that, it would pass on that effect, and I think something sustainable could come out from that.
But it's interesting how you connect the idea of local to being part of a network. Yeah,
You cannot
that's
do
a big
anything
take.
alone by yourself. I think so. You always need a team, but I don't think or at least on the global scale, I think locality can be on smaller scales and be as valuable.
Annalisa?
Well, from my perspective, local, well, I agree with you, and it's interesting that you say you cannot change the environment. From my perspective, that is also, I would say, nature and a little bit fungi perspective, is that, yeah, we cannot change our environment, so we should, in a way, adapt and create something based on what we have. So also to have distributed, for example, production processes is very important, and I think that be based on local means also to understand, to know what is available and what we can do with what is around. So I think that we are really interconnected, but I think that nowadays we just forgot that we are unique, and also we are looking for unique stuff. I think that the problem today is that we want standardized items. So this is the main point also that I think that we are facing when we are producing, that people, brands and end users, I would say, they require standards. They require the same things everywhere. And this is a problem. This is a problem because we are not, we cannot rely on nature, and we cannot respect and produce really in a good way if we standardize, because it's impossible. The world is different. So for me, local is really to be linked where you are on the ground, meaning social ground, environmental ground, also the economy, and try to create networks that also rely on the local, but also keep also the economy alive. So keep also the value, that's what we are producing, because right now we are producing, but the value for what is produced is not saying where you are producing. It's just away, you know. So we are producing in low countries, and the value stay in our rich countries, for example. So we should also change our relations among ourselves also.
That's very interesting. It's sort of like, well, we think that way for cheese or for wine, but we don't think that way for clothes, no? Marte?
And that's actually surprising that we even have to talk about local.
Yeah.
I mean, this is actually how I started like working in this field, because I tried to produce 1,000 pair of jeans in Europe, and it was impossible. And so, is the only thing I can get this pair of jeans produced 100,000 pieces in China? That doesn't make any sense. So, and if we even think about circularity, and there's this quote that we have enough clothes looped around for the next 6 generations. So if we stop extracting any resource, if we stop producing any new clothes, there's enough for our children, grandchildren, children, enough clothes for the rest of their lives. So obviously it makes probably sense to work with the resources we have, and that makes more sense in a local scenario. Of course, that doesn't sound very reasonable to send this abroad to get it recycled, for example. So I think the transition towards circular economy pushes the conversation of more local infrastructure, more local supply chains, stakeholders, the devaluation of the product, which costs less than a coffee, and so on and so on. We need to rediscover those relationships and those direct conversations and experiences between the stakeholders. So, very honestly, if we would go outside and ask the kids how clothes are produced, they don't have a clue. No one has ever experienced how clothes are made, who's involved, and that is because of that disconnect and because of the distance. Last thought on this, local probably does not replace global. Like, we can discuss, but maybe it's it can assist. It can be like a twinned infrastructure, because we can pilot things, we can innovate on things, we can test things much quicker, and we need fast solutions. So probably local infrastructure and local supply chains and local networks could advance and speed up those developments.
Yeah, I've seen the term translocal used for that. So both local and networked at the same time. But it's also interesting how you pick up on the relational aspect. But that's also for the next panel, which will look at the social aspects. But in terms of knowledge flows, I think was more your... Elise?
So basically, I totally agree with what Marte said, and it made me think about Africa, because in Africa you have cotton, which requires less water than everywhere else, but Africa is not the main provider of cotton in the world, so how can we explain it? And for me, it's if we solve this question, maybe we will make a step forward toward more local production, because it is precisely in Africa that we are sending in Europe our unsold garments, and people there, they are wearing it one time, but that basically it's also the reason why the local manufacturing is not as much developed as it should. So yeah, just to add something to your point. Then what you said is also very inspiring about networking and creating a local chain. The thing is, one of the speakers today had a map with the difference between the classical manufacturing system, international manufacturing, and the Herewear project manufacturing system. And so on this map we had little cycle everywhere, and this is something I really enjoy, the idea that we can create local loops, because of course we are not consuming fashion only in France or in Germany or in England or in China. So of course this way to think could be an international, local way of creating the future of fashion.
Yes, it is. Actually, that was
from
Lean.
existing
It wasn't
process.
me. I was trying to get that into my PowerPoint. It was Lean who showed it. But yes, that's... I'll copy Marte and go backwards in the other direction. No, Alice? So it's you again. So the second question is, what have you learned from Herewear? You've not been totally outside the project, but you've been connected to it, and you've seen what is here in the exhibit.
First I learned that people, very different people and with different backgrounds can work together on a very complex project. In my opinion, and we were discussing with Frédéric about it, is certainly the most finalized European project I've ever seen in the textile industry. I hope it's not the last one, and we will go further with this one. What I learned is finally it was not such a long time to be able to make this in the end, even if it's not the even if of course we could improve and go further. And so yeah, and it's also a good example of like the way we can use new technologies to make good things, not only like support certain candidates efficiently. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Very nice, kind words. Marte, you've been a project partner. What have you learned in the last 3.5 years?
I learned that very unusual that you put stakeholders somewhere in Asia Pacific. So everyone wants that, but it's almost impossible to do that for many different reasons. And what I learned is you have to change, you have to design upon those limitations. Yeah. So if you want to produce locally and you want to implement a circular value chain, for example, then this is a design challenge first and foremost. European supply chains, just things are lost. Let's face it. So they probably are not easy to be returned. There's a loss of know-how. There's a loss of routines, and there's a loss of infrastructure. These projects like these, and many people are working on that. But what it actually means to apply, what does means that designers have to embrace that challenge and work upon those settings.
Partner, but I think that yeah, I completely agree with you, and also I think that as Europe we lack of resources, so this is a limitation that is also geographically put on us. So I think that when you have limits, you should just work. I think that also the most challenging things for innovation is the economy, and really the way that our system is designed. And I think that design should also apply to our society. Not possible. So we should be able to say, okay, I just will produce something that has quality, a lot of quality, maybe higher prices, and I share the market with other innovators. Why I think that nowadays we are so pushed to produce a lot, and we are pushed to compete. Of course, competition is also in nature is good because it brings you to innovate and to do more, but not when you are just going against someone else. So really, I think that innovation skills, but design wherever, also in social science.
This is very interesting. Our idea of local is emerging as something that has to do with collective creativity in a certain sense. It's your shirt, no? What? What?
And added to their professional background, this individual drive can really change the pace of how you get the results, or sometimes it's just a small deviation from the direction you go towards. And if you get it right, you go to the land where you find a lot of fruits at a very specific moment, I think.
That's very interesting because it links to our idea of local. I think the attractiveness of the idea of local is that you're dealing with people and not the boxes that they work for.
Yes. And again, you can work with a company
Or
that is
as
standing
much as the boxes that they work for. It's not, yeah. So,
of results. I think it's not enough to give out guidelines and knowledge only, but actually I think it would be helpful to give, when it comes to garments or to a product, real orders to those off-takers. So I'm thinking, I don't know if it's viable or feasible, but to have a real look back into the industry by orders from anybody who could support these kind of results by not only pushing prototypes but also pushing a lot into circulation. Long story short, an order of 10,000 of those garments could be interesting not only for the supplier but also for the way it's been received, for the circulation, for the recycling, for the different things. But to transform it into a real order, because there's a lot of talking and white papers, but why not investing into a real order?
that's very interesting. There's been talk today of regulations as a policy instrument, but little talk of procurement as a policy instrument. And there was very much in fashion about 5 years ago talk of pre-competitive procurement, namely procurement of outside the rules of...
Related to local, we will map the feedstock, for example, and the byproducts that are present on the territory, because one of the main challenges for us, for example, is to know what is and where it is. So we know that we know our substrate and what we need for growing our strain and this material, but we don't know where to find it. And this is also a gap of information. I think that in a way can create limits to, for example, biofabrication and people that are working on bio-based materials. And then having really great collaboration is so important. I think the most important thing.
That's really interesting because that's one of the in-depth projects that is almost finished, that we funded from Herewear, done by the way, I should introduce you to the Van Vitelli University in just outside of Naples, San Leocho. And they did a mapping, a regional mapping, and worked on the methodologies to check the Corinne European land cover database and other sources in order to get a regional mapping of biomass that is available for this type of purpose. It would be interesting to collaborate on that.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I see what your hidden agenda is. Jesse hates travel and he wants it. So I would love to see like Herewear flying in the future, and those and Nona's your statement gave me a lot of optimism that you're going to proceed with that and scale that and introduce new garments, because that's what's needed, I believe. So we need to include the consumer, and this is also funny that because we have great examples that are desirable and available and with a great service and accessible and affordable, so that we are in a catch-22 situation: no product, no demand, no supply, no. So that's why we have to involve the consumer and offer them great products embedded in great services, and this in local supply chains.
In the production process, production of knowledge, production of clothes.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the
question was the challenges, a lot of challenges. On my humble level, I will try to continue to push those topics especially on an event such as textile apparel sourcing, which is a very important marketplace for the sector. I was discussing with someone previously, telling the first time I made a conference there, I was with my teammate Claire Elliott, and we had only 2 persons in the audience, and it was about the social impact of fashion. And now, step by step, we saw more people coming, participating, asking questions, even exhibitors, when basically they are here to sell their products and they don't want to lose any minutes to do something else. So this, so I think level, we have this challenge about education, and of course I'm thinking about the election again and the way the social networks can have a huge impact on new generations. So of course people, they don't want to be treated as children, they want to be implicated in the process, so it's almost a philosophical debate whether if we have to be very simple and with colors and animation everywhere or if we have to show the things in their complexity. I prefer the second version. I don't know why. It's my intuition that we have to welcome this complexity and deal with it and stop going to simplicity all the time. Simple ideas, simple solutions don't work for complex issues. And also the idea that the climate change and they are fighting, the current fight seems to be against the very fast fashion brands. And for me, there is something, of course I'm not defending very fast fashion brands, but for me there is something, we are not taking the right way to solve issues if we are just saying that before in France we had fast fashion brands that are now competing against stronger fast fashion brands abroad. Of course they are stronger because the manufacturing is there, so their ability to be just on time is super strong. And now the solution from the people, not all of them, but it's like we have to forbid very fast fashion brands. Okay, well, is it the right way to fight against our issues? I'm not sure. Like, we have to think that this issue is our issue, but it's also a global issue. If we are fighting very efficiently in France, we will not solve anything globally speaking. So we, on the European level, the new regulation is something very important to go to this next step, which means engaging abroad too and stop having this, sorry, but colonial approach of the question. Sorry, the world, they are international. So yeah, stop thinking like there is a confusion in between the economic objectives, local objectives, and the big pictures when it comes to ecological issues that are bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. No,
Maybe.
That's very interesting. That's the challenge for the European approach, which is very European because you can manage it in a certain sense.
launched in order to provide alternative for sustainable consumption of food. And the second one, that many of you know what I do, that deals with textile waste and creates new products that support low impact lifestyles made out of textile waste.
It's a difficult question, I think. It's always a question where do you start, but I think my background is, I come from a family where at the one hand we were the people that filled boats in the Antwerp harbor. So I know the industrial environment and what piles means, because when it's numbers on paper, it still has something like, oh, it's okay, but it is not okay. And for those who never did it, go to a big harbor and make a trip with a boat, and then just be amazed how crazy it is what we consume. On the other hand, I had a grandmother from mother's side who had 5 shops, and that's where it went wrong for me probably, in high fashion women underwear, in some economical logic there or something. And until today I'm happy I did that, but I'm also convinced that we really have a problem and that we should change things. Everybody, and I think it starts with, because it's not so difficult, with being clean on its own. We say, it's an expression in Belgium, and clean...
Balayer.
Okay.
Balayer devant sa porte.
And why I tell this, because it is a little bit about that we take the benefits, but what comes, the bad part of the benefits, the costs of the benefits, we just throw them over the wall. Imagine that you would do that with your neighbor. You live in a neighborhood and you go to the toilet hop, you throw it with the neighbor, you paint it up, you throw it with the neighbor. That's actually what we do, and just that the planet or some countries do not have a clear voice to stop that. But so we really should accept boundaries, I think. That was...
Hello, thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure. My name is Galbenyamin. Just my background.
Who you are and what is your vision of social?
So my background is in fashion design. My bachelor in fashion design. I'm currently a master student in the Institut Français de la Mode. Specialized in leather, luxury leatherware and leather goods. And I think that social impact and fashion is it's very strong. I feel like there's a huge gray cloud above this industry, and I feel like, and I know that many designers are extremely frustrated because of the nature of this industry, and we came to a very superficial point, I think. And to me, I would say that the most amazing thing is through the projects you see how, to be honest, quite easily you can reach very significant social impact using designers and people from other fields, because there are so many fields within this industry, and at the end of the day, I feel like there just need to be like the will to do it rather than accepting the situation as it is, and it just takes someone to initiate it. And, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, thanks for holding on to the end. I'm Maria. Who am I? Originally from Colombia. I'm an ice cream lover, I'm a hiker, I'm an activist for conservation of nature, specifically whales and dolphins. and I'm working on a social enterprise in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And what does it mean for me, social? Well, actually this, being able to see somebody in the eye and share thoughts and think we have something in common, how can we help each other? And that's what social work means to me, is how can we make connections to our own values and the values of others that can support ideals, that can support cool projects to move forward as a society. So it's the co-creation, the co-construction of society.
You keep the mic. So, Maria, through your work and through
the inspiration, by the design, by the values of somebody else. And what I see from Herewear, not being part of the project, but hearing and being on the sidewalk, it's very inspiring that a lot of backgrounds come together with a purpose and pull it all together. And that for me is here where you are now you're building a family or a project together. And I'm sure many of you are looking forward to move or continue. Once that the funding stops, what's the next step? How are we going to co-create this movement further?
So Benjamin, can you tell us more about the what you experienced through the project?
Of course. I think through the project that I did with Bastimer from Shelter Suit Foundation, which supports homeless people all over the world. I think the most important lesson is that we're in a time where we're so overexposed and over-consuming information, whether it's visual or numerical or whatever. And I think we're really quite detached from everything. And it's really hard to go deep and understand and actually comprehend whether it's an experience, a problem, or a feeling. And with Shelter Suit, once he took both management master students, both design students, and once you meet the refugees experiencing homelessness, and you understand the challenges that they're facing, and you understand that you have to design something for them that would actually have no aesthetic value and no economic value or anything, and so different from everything you're being taught. And you understand how much it's so much more rewarding, and it begins where you understand that there are so many challenges, because obviously you take the project, taking into consideration you don't want it to be a one-time thing, you want to like develop it and keep it going. And I think that I was really amazed that every time we approach Sqetch or Balenciaga or a lot of brands, once they understood the purpose of the project, once they understood, and once they heard our stories from meeting the people, they were so willing to donate dead stocks or give donations, ateliers source the project, manufacture it for free, and everything just came to us like really with almost no effort, simply for showing really, I feel like human values. And beyond that, it was amazing how, again, like such different people and quality of different mindset, from business oriented, design oriented, collaborated, amazingly, which usually we wouldn't even exchange a word like in our natural environment, unless we have to. And I saw how the social impact actually continued beyond it, how actually like the ateliers that they gave free service, we realized that there are refugees that actually were taught sewing skills, and we could exchange other skills with them. We could enrich their knowledge more. The management people would teach them how to create like a proper CV so they can find like proper jobs and not only just like really easy manual jobs. I think it was just really amazing how once you experience something and once you talk to someone face to face, once you tell them your experience, your personal experience, and not numbers or some data, how it like really affects the person and it brings people together. I thought it was quite amazing and bring hope.
Yes, thank you. Very interesting. Also, what I hear is about the social. No, you can take the chemistry was much faster when you were talking and taking the textile from the social perspective, and so suddenly everything went very fast. You know, we didn't have to spend that time to build that chemistry.
But if I might just add,
yeah.
If I might just add, because I heard it so many times at the beginning with Adidas, how they say like that the consumers don't understand circularity or sustainability, and I feel like this is the thing, like people really don't understand, like they don't know, and I feel like there are certain things that are easier to understand and to, you know, manipulate them for the better, and I think this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, first of all, it's the third time that because I'm an outsider like Marit, how we could do things differently, and I think that's important to, is a complete solution here, probably not, but at least it's cornerstones that will, let's hope, put a system in action that wants to do better and differently. Besides that, what else is needed? Maybe it's good to come back on the notion of welfare and well-being, and I think we are way too much with this kind of societies, and it's easy to say it when you are in these positions, but in welfare, and we forget that when you are too much...
You keep the mic. Thank you, Anka. So how do you, on that basis, how do you envisage that we can continue to be working in the textile and clothing sector, integrating more the social aspect? What would be the very next step?
First work would be together, and this is another lesson. I know I told myself not to repeat things that were already said, and the thing we learned as well here is that we are not alone. And this gives us force to advance in this very, very challenging field. And there are three things that I will say here, and with all the modesty, I would like to say that I conducted some interviews within our community, and these three challenges, let's say, or changes, are shared by other members or partners. One is, it was already mentioned several times, education of consumers. No matter how much we advance technologically, scientifically, economically, and so on, if we don't couple our actions with the work of behavioral scientists, and we don't do, we don't make efforts to change the educational system, I think that we don't need only systemic change here, we need like total... We need policies, and regulations, but I will put it like that, I will do the environmental injustice and social injustice illegal, because we know so many, speaking of morality, we know already that there are so many human rights and other types of rights not respected, and so on, but we still don't have the right laws in place. I don't know how we will do it, but we'll still be here. And the third one, I already mentioned it in fact, is this recognizing the need of getting rid of the GDP as the main indicator, and relying always on the quantitative indicators.
Replacing it by le bonheur national brut.
We have this in Bulgaria. There are several works being done in alternative indicators already, but not embraced yet.
Frank, the next challenge.
A single piece that goes to our hands, not only to link it up with somebody who maybe still needs it, but also to understand what goes wrong with the design here, how too much we have from this kind of pieces. What is the built-in altering? We see a lot of that in electronics, by the way. Then I think we objectify the problem, and I hope, and if we do this with more social companies, and only King and Antwerp, of course, then I hope we have a good basis to give a push against the system, besides all the morality we maybe can have.
Maybe we can think about the true cost.
So, yeah, I think probably the most important thing is that we don't disconnect ourselves from the problem, and we understand it's all connected, and there really is a need for tabula rasa. We need to reimagine things and understand that it's really, we cannot just work in our neighbors, and we cannot just separate ourselves from nature or society only because we don't see it or because it's not affecting directly. We think it doesn't affect us directly, but yes, there's need for, I think, like really a lot of imagination and to tackle this problem in a new direction, because currently, as mentioned, it's just going backwards. So
yes, in-depth awareness on creative solutions. Thank you. Maria?
It's been said, right? So it's the awareness creation and be creative with solutions. So just to share a little bit about our experience in the Netherlands. Well, you see this little ribbon here, it has a story behind, and it's made out of livests that people wear in their travel towards safety. So it has a social connotation, it has a tangible story, and it's of course super bright, so it's a conversation starter. So that's for us, for innovation, so innovative projects like this. What is the storyline behind how it can be communicated to public in order to make it mainstream or make it, people start talking about it and people start recognizing, oh, there is actually this and that brand that is taking this approach. That's from our experience what we have done, is telling the story, what we do, and for those that you don't know what we do, we work with basically extending the life of the garments that certain brands that we work with. So we offer the service of repairing. This project in the Netherlands as well, we collaborated actually in the past. So what is the story so that Herewear becomes in the people's background, so that can start talking about it and ask for it.
And how we make the social aspect of brilliant orange in the story. Thank you very much indeed. Before we close the panel, I would like to give the mic again to Anka.
Only to say that we are trying via Herewear. We work on building a first, I don't know if it's the first, but a European map of social enterprises working in the textile sector, with the aim of increasing their visibility, but as well to make easier the connection between brands, companies that need their support. And we are kindly asking for your support and scanning this code, and if you know social enterprises within your regions, your countries, or any others, just to put them via our survey. Was I clear? Thank you.